Yeah.
That's
I've had this thing for like 20 years.
Seriously. Well, we're live, guys. Another dominant day in the market yesterday. It's June 9th.
no July 9th. Then you missed the month.
July 9th, yeah. And yeah, yesterday's close was strong. I mean, Bob, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a continuation of money needing to flow into the market. Same names, different day, right? I mean, how many people are saying, why didn't I just buy Apple, Amazon, and, Google, name the stocks? There's 10 of them.
Beyond Meat will be in that category soon.
It is in that category.
Every few years.
Baba was a great call, Dan. I mean, if you had the guts to hold that through the earnings, I mean, you've already made 25%.
Yeah, a lot of the Chinese stocks have just been on fire. JD.com is another one that's just been plowing through.
I don't trust any of those companies long term. I don't see that being a thing that makes sense as a U.S. investor much longer.
I saw some report, not a report, but someone just did the math, and I think it was like they basically were outlining how much the few big cap names like Amazon, Microsoft, etc., have increased by market cap in the last 7 days. And the person is someone that I follow that's structurally bearish on the market, and they were just almost making a mockery of it all, or they were just just getting insane.
Well, I find everyone who's bearish brings up the same points over and over again. They mention those names as being heavily weighted and money goes in and it goes into those names. And the fact of the matter is we're back to the same old story that money needs to flow into the market. And those are the names that get a lot of it because of their market cap. It's just the facts. You can find it and fight it, and eventually you're going to be right. But how much are you giving up to be right?
These people that are bearish, I just don't understand what it is they're doing. Where it's like, okay, so you're bearish on the market. What are you doing with your money?
Well, I this guy that I'm talking about he's a respectful investor. Like, he's on CNBC a lot. He's one of these technicians with the way he reads technical charts, and he's been pretty dead on with reading the ebbs and flows in the market. And overall, he's bearish, but he'll randomly be long the S&P for small periods of time. And what he's been doing is almost every night he shorts the NASDAQ, the QQQ, and he'll have like a 10-point stop loss every night. So each time his shorts have been getting stopped out because the market keeps going up. And he continues to post about what he's seeing, which is the biggest gap wedge that he's ever seen in his life in the NASDAQ. And he's basically like, I'm not going to play this whole fear of missing out investment where I'm going to buy stocks that I know are overvalued and getting to the point of just dangerous. He's like, instead, I'm willing to miss out on short-term gains to position myself for when they do correct, because when they do correct, he's saying, he's like, the NASDAQ could fall 1,000 points in a few minutes for no reason with just how high it's run. So
yeah, the question is, how many days is he losing 10 points? Right? And
I think a lot.
Yeah. So does that add up to almost 1,000 by the time he's done? The whole thing is an exercise in futility.
I don't see how that gets you anywhere, really.
Well,
that doesn't sound strategy.
Yeah, it all just depends ultimately.
Look, it comes down to a comfort level in the market, and there's a lot of people that are totally uncomfortable with being long this market, and they'll sit in cash, some of them for years.
Great, keep them in cash.
Waiting for something. I don't know exactly.
They'll keep waiting, and one day they'll be dead, and their money will just be sitting there.
Well, there will be big corrections. There's no question. This is going to lead to tremendous corrections within it. There's nothing you can do about it.
And Bob, like you always say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. That's the same with.
And the harder they rally back.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, all the time. And the world just keeps moving up eventually. That's how it works.
So
That's why we're
yesterday,
heading for Bitcoin going to the moon. World
so
profit.
yesterday, let's just talk about. I know we've talked about them a bunch on here, but Penn and DraftKings yesterday. I mean, is there a chance? Yesterday we saw the bottom. There was a brief moment yesterday where Penn dropped under 27 and basically hit the same price that it was at pre-Barstool acquisition, and it was the same price that it hit a couple months back, where it immediately bounced off of it, and then it bounced off that and ended up closing in the green. And Dad, I know when we were talking at probably around noon, you were like, if Penn could rally and close positive today, it could be a good bullish sign for the stock in days to come. I bought more Penn yesterday when it was down at 27.50, and at this point I own a lot of Penn. I was definitely buying it on the way down, and at times at the wrong moment. But I'm starting to think Penn and DraftKings might be the new momentum plays at the beginning of these new upswings that hopefully they're about to see. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the way the chart is developing. If you look at the 1-year chart on Penn, it kind of looks like an upside down, bottom. I mean, this is what you look for. I don't know if you have the chart up. Do you have it up there?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up too on here.
I mean, if you look at it, it hit a low at 26.96. That was yesterday, right?
26.96, yeah.
Yeah, but if you go back and do a 1-year chart with the low at 375, before that low, it went up and tested, 39.25, and then collapsed. And then it slowly came up and went up to 40 and hit the low yesterday, right below 27, like you said. And you can make a case, if it has another couple of up days, that it's an upside down chart, which is pretty positive. Head and shoulders upside down.
I love it.
I mean, the reason I'm bullish here is, both of you know my thoughts on the Corona situation. And I think these have been beaten down the last couple of weeks due to the fears of this uptick. But when you really dive into those numbers, you'll see very quickly in the next couple of weeks with sports coming back, these athletes are not going to be getting sick. I can guarantee it. There are some positive tests going in. We're going to see very quickly what the reality is, and it's going to lead to these going on a new momentum.
I hope you're right. I mean, I think MLS had their first game last night, and I think, even if athletes test positive, there's a chance that they just continue to play and just have those athletes self-quarantine. I don't really know what the plan is. Dad, I have DraftKings pulled up next. Could we dive into this one?
Let's say DraftKings.
I know this one's a much shorter timeline chart because we don't really have anything to work with prior to 2020.
Right. No, I think DraftKings looks interesting also. These are momentum stocks, and they need a couple of days to catch on. And
all they need is positive news around this virus, like any vaccine talk or people realizing this isn't what this resurgence really is. That's really what we're talking about here with these.
Well, the sweet spot for DraftKings is the virus continues and they have sports. That would be like the ultimate for DraftKings, because then the casinos are still not going to be where people want to be. And this is the alternative.
I think they're winners regardless, because I still think there's going to be people not going to casinos from all this and just using their phones. It's way more efficient. Why would you have to spend money and time showing up somewhere to gamble when you could do it on your phone?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And what else are you guys looking at today? I mean, there's some stocks that are really going on epic runs. Pinterest.
These electric companies like NIO and NKLA, it's just insane runs. And
yeah, look at this chart with NIO.
I'm trying a short stock right now. I'm out there at 1377.
Oh man, be
out.
careful. That stock's got no slowing down to it. But I
Yeah.
agree with you. I mean, you kind of nailed the plug short. Yesterday was kind of a choppy day, but today it looks like that stock wants to get beaten down. And not only that, but I saw, and also to throw DraftKings in there because I know we were just talking about it, but Plug and DraftKings were both on the high volume radar this morning for the good and bad. Obviously, DraftKings on the upside and
Yeah.
Plug on the downside. But Plug right now is one of the more active volume traded stocks.
I can't wait to jump hard in that stock again when it dips.
Well, the fun thing about Plug is you can have about a 25-cent range and put out a short. Basically, you could play it this way. Right now, it's trading around 925, 926. You could put a short out at 950 and then try to buy it back at 925 and play that all day long until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
I would rather just buy that at its lows and sell off.
Yeah.
I was hoping that it was going to be more like 925 down to 9 range today. The last thing
I covered a little bit at 921. I got another order at 901. But if it goes back up above 950, I'm going to put out another short. I think it could trade in a range for a while.
Definitely.
Both sides of it.
But I think yesterday. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, if it does break, you stay on the short side. You just don't completely cover.
Yeah, and yesterday you kind of had a good point. Not even a good point, but just I could tell that you've seen this game before where you were talking about how like the retail traders that have been pushing this name higher are eventually going to just get tired of this name.
Right.
And when you said that, do you kind of mean that they'll get tired of seeing it not move up huge every day like it was leading up to this, and they'll just want to find the next name?
Yeah, and they're also, a lot of them are long at the higher points because that's where the heavy volume is. So those longs are looking to get out, especially as it falls. So it gets harder to break through. If it does break through, then you got to, get new ranges. But that's always the risk on these things.
If it gets over 1050 is when it could get back into breakout mode.
Right. I mean, who knows where these things can go. The NKLA, you can't borrow the stock today, at least the TD Ameritrade. So that tells me, it's getting crazy again. And it looks like it's going to open above 59. It's nuts.
Wow, so this stock's actually given back a lot. I didn't even realize that. I know it had gotten up to 80. I didn't realize it came all the way back down to 40. That's insane.
Yeah, so you still can't short it, or it's just hard to borrow.
I mean, this stock got chopped in half in the matter of 2 weeks.
And any of these stocks, that could happen. Any of these high flyers.
Yeah,
none of them have earnings.
You kind of expect that it'll eventually happen to all of them. Just each timeline is going to be different. Workhorse is another one that, is way off of its highs at this point. It looks like it's possibly done really, really going up and just at this point starting to fade. Yeah, there's no doubt if you can get on the other side of these trades, you can kind of just sit on them and watch them just fade to nothing, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, and I don't know what happens with the cruises and airlines today, but I notice Carnival Cruise is up big pre-opening.
And they're on the volume screener as a high volume traded stock today for whatever reason.
Yeah, so who knows if there's more activity in those and everyone jumps back in to the airlines. We'll see.
Another stock that's on the high volume radar is that SRNE stock. And, I'll start with them. Do you own any of that?
I played that. There was one day way back where it went up to like $10 from a couple of dollars in one day and then came down, and it hasn't gotten back to those levels. But it looks like it's attempting to. I mean, I heard the CEO speak on one of the shows, and he sounded like a complete not, I wouldn't say a fool, but, let's get our stock up as high as I can kind of guy. That was always scary. But supposedly he said they have the cure for the coronavirus. That was the original story. And the stock went from 2.5 to 10 in one day. And since then, it's been kind of backing and filling.
I've heard the same story for the last 3 months, every 4 days, that someone's got a cure for the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wild dance. And I know this morning they're doing the job reports pretty soon. And that's going to definitely be a mover of the markets. It almost seems like things are on pause, waiting for that moment. Last night I opened investing.com like around 10 o'clock just to see what the futures were doing. And I saw some notice on there with a video about how China was warning the UK to, back off and not do anything regarding what they're doing with Hong Kong. At some point, the headlines are going to take over with everything going on with China, and that'll be what the headlines are whenever the market drops heavily. Like if the market was down right now, 1,500 points pre-market, the headlines would be because of China. Because
the U.S. kind of floated the idea of letting the Hong Kong dollar float. It's been a fixed currency to the U.S. dollar for as long as I can remember. It trades around 775 to 780 all the time. And when the U.S. said that as a possibility, the Chinese supposedly went in there and just supported the Hong Kong dollar furiously. And that just shows their intent to keep things pretty stable. It would be a horrible thing if they let it go, at least temporarily.
Temporarily. China they're screwed in the next few years. So this is all just bullshit.
Who knows?
I know. I can guarantee it. They're not set up for world domination much longer. It's that simple. It's a supply and demand issue.
I'm going to pull up Pinterest because I'm just curious. I'm going to pull up the 1-year chart on this. This is a stock that's had a lot of momentum lately and has been breaking all its previous levels, at least for this year. Pull it up on your end because I'm curious what you think about where it's at right now and what levels it's going to run into more resistance and where it needs to break through. I mean, it's gone on an epic run, really, in the last couple months. And this is a stock long-term that I really like. I still think that they have a lot to figure out to monetize their platform. And Mike, I know you're big on stocks that appeal to the female demographics, which Pinterest really owns. And, it's a newer company, but I
think they have a ways to go with making their advertising model way more seamless. I'm still not a fan of the way they market themselves. I think it's still too confusing for newcomers to their platform. So until I'm bullish on them long term, but I would more look at a Twitter right now after the news that came out yesterday with Jack Dorsey agreeing to look into subscription models for Twitter with how much more usage they've had the last year. I think that is an under the radar value play right now because I've been waiting for years for that company to figure out a new funnel to bring in money. And I think they're going to finally figure it out.
Yeah, I'll pull up their chart next. I think you bring up a good point about Twitter with their subscription service. I want to just hear Dad's opinion on the Pinterest chart quickly. And then
Pinterest looks to me like, it's had a big run from down near 20 to 27. It could come down to 24.5, but I like it. I think on any weakness like that, I'd be
I'll be jumping back in Pinterest on weakness. I've been getting in and out of that stock on dips.
Yeah, the short-term upside is probably 31.5 or so if it keeps going, without a pause, which is also possible.
Yeah, yesterday it had a really impressive close because it closed right at the 27 mark, which it was fighting all day. The day before that, it closed right above 26, and now it's set to open pre-market. I actually bought some post-market yesterday. I've been trading it really each day, but yesterday when I saw it closed over 27, I bought some after the market at 27. Now it's at 27.40. I have a sell order in at 27.40. I'm hoping it goes through before the market opens, because basically what it's been doing is it pulls back at the open, consolidates, and then plows further. So like maybe Pinterest comes down to 27 or 27.20 and then plows higher if the NASDAQ continues to go higher, which, these stocks kind of ride with whatever that's doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many names that you can almost close your eyes, buy it, and sell it an hour later.
So true. But yeah, Mike, I think you bring up a good point with Twitter. I think the biggest risk here is they're popping on the news. If they don't end up doing it, it's going to send that stock down hard. Because
they're definitely going to end up doing it. You could tell reading between the lines, Dorsey is finally behind it. He got pressured enough by their board where it's now happening. So they're in this is going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like, but.
So what happened exactly? They hired someone who's an expert in building these subscription models. Is that the deal?
They have a couple people internally working on that specifically. Yeah, I don't know if it was an internal hire or just a reshift in focus, but there's.
I thought that would happen. The market noticed that they hired someone who's an expert in this.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Twitter, I've said for years, I think they've left so much advertising on the table. And I think a lot of it was Jack Dorsey starting Square, getting caught up in crypto. He's a genius on another level. He has not focused on Twitter the last few years, in my opinion, the way he needed to. And it seems like he's been pressured now enough to be honing back in on Twitter to put his brain power to work for that company. I personally think Twitter is going to be hitting a new leg because the pandemic, the uprisings, like all these things, the Black Lives Matter movement, when you really look at news these days, I think it's helped Twitter immensely and put them back in the powerful position when they first started. And they lost a lot of momentum the last few years. They've had a lot of new users on their platform, and I haven't owned it in a long time, but I'm going to be looking to get back into Twitter.
Yeah,
it's very sexy, the notion of a subscription model for the best news feed on the planet. When you really think about where news is right now, helping reporters out, I think we're in for a very unique situation with where they can take this thing.
Yeah, I like where your head's at, Mike.
I just want to, when are people going to run out of money on these subscriptions? I mean, everyone's getting these bills monthly. So what's this? $9.99 for that.
And then you cancel it and don't even pay it. That's what I want to know is where is all that money going? Where, you hit up your bank when you see a fee that you never even paid for and you end up getting refunded.
Well, it's going back in your pocket. What do you mean? Where is it
no,
going?
I'm saying that what Dad's talking about with all these subscriptions, where's the money going? I always wonder, how are these companies staying in business when most people don't even pay for it?
No, I the funny one to me is Sirius Radio, which for years their policy was they give you something pretty much for free for 3 months or $25 for 6 months. And then they're hoping you don't call back to cancel it because then it goes up to their normal rates because it's a pain in the ass to just call them every 6 months. And then when you call them, they'll give you another 6 months.
Looking at the Twitter chart, are there values that you're looking at that it needs to get through for it to kind of break into all new levels? I mean, to me, it looks like it could get over 40 just based on the 1 year chart.
Yeah, I mean, it's got work to do to get through there, I think.
It's got a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be in a hurry to buy it after this move.
No, I'm waiting for a pullback to get in Twitter, but I think it is a good play. Dan, pull up Beyond Meat, BYND. I bought more of that yesterday, and I'm going to continue to load into it because I know this thing is about to complete.
That's a nice chart, Beyond Meat.
What's that?
I like Beyond Meat's chart.
Yeah, looks phenomenal. And when you really dive into this thing, like Impossible Burger is the one with the bad ingredients. My guess is the reason I'm even ultra bullish here, they're the only competitor legitimately of Beyond Meat right now. We're going to see them fall to the wayside. And beyond with what's happening in China, the government there, even though the U.S. naturally has a reason to bash them, they are actually eco-friendly more than we realize. And when you look at the future of meat, the reason it's a red flag is because it just doesn't work for the environment. The amount of water it takes to produce a beef burger is ridiculous.
What happened that McDonald's decided not to go with them? Was it taste?
No. It was literally a supply problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's getting fixed. And when you another thing to think of with Beyond Meat is back in April, KFC was about to roll out the chicken and it got backtracked because of the virus. That's about to roll out. The testing has been phenomenal. People are going nuts about it. So when you combine the China news with the release of this and KFC with the Beyond Chicken, even though I don't know what fried anything is bad for you, but the psychology behind no meat, that's where we're heading. So you got to look at this as a fixture from how far it's even come the last couple of years as a movement. Now it's becoming a global phenomenon for health and for agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I like the stock a lot. I think it went from being a completely speculative play to actually being a real story. And
yeah, I think it's a better play than McDonald's, to be honest, with way more growth potential.
And looking at
what's interesting about it is like UBS raised their price target today to 105 from 75. It just shows you how far behind the street is on figuring out these companies.
I love hearing that, though. I'm going to buy even more today. When I hear that, it makes me bullish on a whole nother level because those people are living in a dark room somewhere. They have no idea what they're even looking at. Yeah, and yeah, I've eaten it a lot. I've had Beyond Burgers. They're phenomenal. I've had 2 this week. They taste like a phenomenal burger, and you don't feel like shit. And if
you're in the camp that you think that we're really in a progressive world that's heading towards a more environmentally friendly place and everything that goes with that, it's not too crazy to envision a world in 20 years where people are not eating real meat at all.
No, it's not. It's going to happen. It's not even. Yeah. It's
so if that does happen, it's not crazy to think Beyond Meat is going to be increasing 100 to 1,000 times from where it's at now if it really takes off on that kind of level.
Which it's going to. I think that's going to be $1,000 stock before we even realize it. I really do. That is going to be like the Tesla of the food movement.
I agree. No, I like it. And so I'm glad you just brought up Tesla because I've been hearing, and Dad, I want to know if you could just add anything to this. I keep hearing that because Tesla is at a certain point, they're going to be put into S&P 500, and that's going to then drive them so much higher because the index money is going to have to flow into their stock. Is that just a BS bull story, or is there truth to that?
No, I mean, if it goes into indexes that it's not in, it forces people that are index followers to buy it.
So when you say
so
that,
it'll definitely add to the amount of holders of the stock.
So that means it doesn't matter the price that it's at. Once it enters the S&P, it's just automatically then going to have index money flowing in and take it higher.
Right. Like if you're in the S&P index, that basically means that index owns all the stocks in it. So if Tesla gets added, the index runners have to buy the stock, so it's representing the index.
So what kind of increase could that give a stock?
It's a temporary increase, just because of the idea it's going in. Once they're in it, and then the buying and selling goes on based on the index. But there's a lot of anticipatory money that has gone into Tesla because they think it's going to be in the index.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so there'll be sellers into it.
I still think 1,400 is a temporarily high for that stock, and it eventually comes down to 800.
It's a straight line. Anytime anyone shorts it, they're thinking they're only shorting it because the they'll take a shot for 30 points or something, and then they give up.
Yeah. Well, Mike, your stock of the day, it sounds like is Beyond Meat. Mine is Penn. I'm back full on the Penn camp. I think you had an opportunity to get in at the same levels that Barstool got in. I think that's huge, and they're going to be sexy again. Dad?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with playing plug in and out, and I'm going to start a short on this NIO.
Boom.
Because I'm able to do it.
Let's do it, guys.